Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jeff. This is Reselling. Today we're going to take a look at what sold since the last video. We're going to do some discussions on a few topics. One topic is local sales versus online sales. The case can be made that we're going to see a resurgence of local sales in the coming years. I think a lot of people think just the opposite, but I think there's a strong case to be made that local sales, even though they have their drawbacks, and I'm going to talk about some drawbacks, I'm going to talk about some pros, and we're going to talk into that, and then I got some housekeeping notes that I want to get caught up on. So I think we're going to start with Sunday afternoon. So what I did Sunday was, a while back, I had in some of my earlier videos, talking about these German books that I got from this guy. I got them for free, and I went there and I took as much as I could take in my car, and there were still some left, so I went back to get some more the other day. Now, I have no idea the value of some of these books. I have sold some already, but it does require some extra work. But they're really super cool. Like, some of these are from like the late 1800s, early 1900s. A gentleman had passed away and a new family moved in. It was really fun. It was a bit of a funny story, to be honest with you. Like, I'm expecting a German guy when I get to the door, and it's a Chinese family. So I'm like, okay. They lead me into the area in the basement where all these books are. And he goes, take as much as you want. So I'm like looking around, I'm trying to determine which ones have value, I don't speak German, and which ones I can leave behind. And it's hard because I have no idea. So I was going off like just my gut. And I sold, like I said, I've sold a couple already, but it was fun, and I don't know what kind of value some of these books are. So they contacted me a week ago, and they were like, if you want to come and get the rest, you can. So I went there on Sunday, filled up my car again. I have donated some from the first batch, and then I donated some from this batch, because there's just some that I just don't feel that they have any worth, or they're worth to ship, because there's some sets. But it was fun. Like, for me, that's what picking is all about, is just like finding really unique items, and seeing if you can make some money on it. And I didn't even get them all this time. And I remember the first time I was there, so I said to the guy, I'm like, do you speak German? And he kind of laughed, and he's like, no. He's like, we lived in this area, we were renting, and this house came up for sale, so we bought it. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, you should see upstairs too. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, there's probably twice as many of these books in the upstairs libraries. And I'm like, well, are you going to keep those? And he said, for now. And I'm like, but you don't speak German. He's like, no. He's like, but he says, if I get rid of them, then the shelves will be empty. It's kind of hard to beat that logic. I mean, his shelves would be empty. But I mean, this is like a really nice neighborhood, like one of the best neighborhoods. So I went there, and then on my way back, I had shown some henna hair product a couple days ago, because I want to always try to, like, if something falls through. So that deal did fall through. And this is also one of the drawbacks to local sales too. It's like, we had agreed, it was kind of on my way home. So I went there, and then he looked at them, and then he determined that, there was something in there that he was allergic to, which is kind of annoying, because I did go a little bit out of my way. But the reality is that local sales aren't perfect either. For instance, you're going to see, I filmed a short clip last night of a couple items, including this small table chair thing that is a local sale today. I don't know if it's going to go through, so I'm not going to include it in my numbers yet. She took a ferry here. She touched base with me last night. She really wants this item. I had no idea she was going to be on the 6 o'clock ferry. I am not an early riser, so I missed her on her incoming route. And then we're going to try to meet up. But I mean, I know what it's like trying to catch a ferry. You know, it's almost inevitably everything goes wrong. Traffic. So at this point, I'm kind of thinking the chair's not going to sell. So since my last video, I have 5 sales at $205, which had the chair sale went through, it would have been 6 sales at $280. Would have been 7 sales at $285, which is exactly right where I want to be every single day. $285 is my goal. So the fact that I'm at $205 with the possibility of getting that particular sale, it's not bad, but it certainly feels like the sales are coming few and far between. Like there's just gaps of no sales, and I feel like my store is back to having the ability to send offers to watchers. And actually, I have a question for you guys. Maybe someone out there knows. What is a watcher in eBay's eyes? Because I've heard 2 descriptions. The first one is somebody who just adds an item to their watch list, which that to me, that is what a watcher is. But I've also heard that these offers that we can send to watchers are people who have just looked at the item. Now, if that's the case, I'm not crazy about that, because that's not really, that's just window shopping. That's like, to actually add it to their watch list, it could mean one of 2 things. Now, it could mean that they legitimately are watching it and then they're just thinking it over, or the offers to watchers functionality has trained buyers to just add items to their watch list knowing that we're going to send them a better deal, which that's not ideal either, because it's like we run sales, I don't really do coupons, but it's like we almost have to price our stuff now quite a bit higher. You know, if you run a basic 10% off sale and you run and you send a 10% offer, you know, you almost have to price yourself at the minimum 20% higher of where you want to get, knowing that you're gonna have, do these promotions. So it's not ideal. But what is a watcher in eBay's eyes? If any of you know, or if it's, just chime in. That would be helpful. Like I said, I'm assuming it's just somebody who's added a watch list, but we'll see. So yeah, I got the German books. Still don't even have them all out of my car. Still working through that. Let's see here. What else did I want to talk about? Item descriptions. I was thinking about this, how there's really, as a seller, there's no reason to not be as descriptive as possible when it comes to, listing any flaws. Because as I'm finding, so many times the buyers don't even look at that information, but it's just a way for us to cover our butts and show everything that we can show as any potential cosmetic flaws or anything about the item. Like, anybody who doesn't these days, like, I can see back in the day people might omit things, but just be as descriptive as you can, because the truth of the matter is lots of times they don't even read that stuff, which blows my mind. Like, I've stated on here that I don't really buy much on eBay. It's just I have access. I could not shop for months and I wouldn't have to source anything. I just have that much inventory, and I still buy. I go to the thrift store every time I can, because you never know when you're going to run into something. And then when I see a good deal, I just buy it. That's just how I am. So 6 sales at $205 is where I'm at. You'll see the other items that I filmed those last night. You'll see those later. There's only 2 more that I'm going to show you right now. this little button sold for $7 going to Canada, so it was $11 shipped actually. And then this graphic novel, Set Optic Nerve, it is kind of like an independent, obscure fantagraphic series. I had 2 issues, and then I ended up getting 4 more from my daughter when they were moving. She just didn't want them anymore, so I just bundled them together, and I ended up getting $44 or $46 for these. So, but other than that, like, those are the only 2 items I think I've sold since around midnight last night. Not ideal. I can't complain about my sales, because it's like I have been getting some larger items that have sold that have kind of saved my butt when it comes to my daily totals. And local sales have been strong. Although yesterday was the first day in 5 days. Yesterday was the last day in 6 days that I did not have a local sale. That's okay. So I was thinking, and I just want to run this topic by you guys and see what you think about this. You're going to see a Star Wars case, a backpack kind of thing. It's really cool, really unique that I bought, and you're going to see that video shortly. But man, I undercharged on the shipping a little bit. Shipping costs have gone up, especially for bigger and bulkier items. And I was just thinking, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming years we see a return to, like, when I say return, I don't mean that the whole shift's going to go back to that. But there's a lot of reasons why you should be listing higher dollar value items and things that you don't necessarily want to ship, or things that you think geographically in your area that people want to buy. You should be listing those locally. I'm going to be keeping track of my eBay sales and my local sales, and I got a little series I'm going to be doing, if it makes sense. I started it last week, and I'll be talking more about that in the coming days, or maybe next week. But it got me thinking about local sales. Shipping costs have gone up. When you think about selling on eBay or selling on any online merchant website 6-7 years ago versus now, it is night and day. Shipping have gone up. Media mail, just shipping books, it is cheaper than if you have to ship it regular, the non-media mail way, but it is not. The USPS is closing that gap to where it's and I see that it's going to get to a point where it's just not worth it to ship heavy books, or like lots of books, or a collection of books. It's not going to be worth it, I think. Fees, something that we never talk about here, right? We never talk about fees. Fees have gone up. And now, on top of fees, we've got advertising that eBay's wanting us to pay for. We didn't have that. Really. I know that the promoted listings came into effect in 2015, but I really feel like it's never been an issue until the last, I don't know, year and a half, to where it feels like if you don't play that game, eBay, whatever, they're going to do whatever they're going to do. They're going to hide your listings. They're going to, not make it as accessible, or they're going to find ways to charge you. It's until enough sellers leave and until enough sellers complain about it. I'll never understand the people that comment who seem to enjoy paying more fees, or seem to think that paying for advertising now is the new norm and that's just the way it should be, and that they're okay with it. I'll never understand that. It's like, you don't want to make money. You don't want to make as much money reselling as you can. You're happy giving your money to eBay. I don't know. I'll never understand that. The cost of goods has gone up. sourcing has become more costly. So every aspect of your business, shipping, fees, advertising, cost of goods, everything now costs more to sell online. So you're essentially having to work harder to make the same money that you were making 5-6 years ago. So if there's a way that you can get around that by selling locally, a portion, maybe 10% of, start with 10% of your inventory. And, when you're listing, list locally as well. That's what I started doing six or 7 months ago. And it's starting to pay off. It's starting, my on Marketplace, from Craigslist, and I use a couple tiny apps locally, and it's just things have started to, I literally had a repeat buyer from locally. And the funny thing is I have 2 Marketplace accounts, and he bought something off of the first one, and then 5 months later he ended up buying something off of my brand new one that I started, because I'm so paranoid that Facebook's going to shut my Marketplace account down because they say I'm selling things that I shouldn't be selling, but then they don't tell me why I shouldn't be selling certain things. So I think the common practice should just be have multiple Marketplace accounts these days, just because bots flag items. There's nobody you can talk to. There's nobody you can appeal. It's just this corporate, no face, no person. You're just at the mercy of them. Oh, and the other thing is I had an item lost in the mail today. I got confirmation from my shipper. It was literally a box. It was that Monchichi plush that I showed maybe 3 weeks ago. It was like this big. It was a huge box. I don't know how something like that goes missing, but that's another cost that we as shippers have to just eat, right? Like we got to make that buyer whole. And I didn't have insurance on this particular item, so I mean I'm really out about $8 out of pocket. That was the cost of the good, but then I'm out the opportunity cost of $40. So what do you guys think? Like, I know that a common, not argument, but point of discussion would be, well, maybe I don't live in an area where local sales are good. I mean, I'm originally from Pennsylvania. I lived there for 24 years of my life. It's from a depressed area, there's really not much work there. And I mean, I wasn't a reseller at that time, but you got to keep in mind when you live in areas like that, your cost of living is so much lower, than other areas where the cost of living is quite high. So I mean, I think if I lived in an area like that, if I lived back in Pennsylvania, I would probably just incorporate trips in different areas and just do a bunch of sourcing at one time, and then just come back home and then just list. I think that's how I would probably operate. But yeah, I mean, definitely where people live can be an issue. But I also know that where people live, they live, right? And there's always opportunities. There's always people who sell stuff cheap. They got to move, or there's garage sales, or, you can source. You got to, when you're out garage sailing and there's auctions and flea markets, there's things to buy. There's things to buy that you can resell locally as well. But yeah, it was just a thought that I had, and I kind of want to know your thoughts on that. And what portion of your total listing do you sell locally? I would say right now, for me, I'm probably, I mean, if you look at my total listings, it's probably 5%, so let me think. I've got 8,500 listings, and I've got maybe 650 listings local. So maybe 8%, maybe 7-8% is what I do, and I totally plan to just keep growing my local sales. So anyhow, that's all I got for today. I will see you tomorrow, maybe. Let's see if we get some sales in. If you're still here, please feed that YouTube algo. You know what to do, and we'll talk soon. Hey guys, here are some items that sold Monday night. This is a Star Wars backpack. It holds CDs, and this, I believe, just mimics a canteen, or it is a canteen. Now this is something for a kid. It can be for a Halloween costume. I mean, it actually could be a functioning backpack. A little cosplay action. You know, be sure to use all those kinds of buzzwords when listing it. I tried to sell it locally. I had some interest. I bought this at Savers or Value Village, depending on where you're at or whatever it's called. It was in the bulk section where the luggage is, and I don't think they actually knew what it was. I picked it up for like $5, and it sold today for $72. I knew it would sell. I would probably not have taken an offer, but he just paid full price. Well, not full price, sale price. Another vintage button. God grows his own, obviously marijuana reference, and very good condition. This sold for $12. A manga, a later issue manga, volume 42 of Inuyasha. This sold for $37. I do very well with manga, and some of them sell. Some of the later issues of the run, because they're lower printed issues, they are more desirable and more rare. And it's just one of those things, you just have to start building an internal catalog of which ones to look for, or you do comps while you find them. And you know, what I do is if I see a couple books that I don't know whether or not they're worth any money, I'll just I'll put in eBay search Inuyasha manga, and then I'll just go to sold comps and kind of get a gauge of what they're selling for, and then dig down deeper per issue if they show pretty decent to sell, that they're selling very well. And then in true reseller fashion, this is going to be selling tomorrow locally. The lady is definitely coming to pick this up. She's so excited to get it. We paid $4 for this at a garage sale. My wife actually bought it for personal use and then decided that she just doesn't have any space for it. And so she's like, here, you can sell this. And I listed it. It's called like a Susie stool by Adrian Reed, but it's not that particular model, but it's very, I'm guessing it's like a knockoff. It's pretty cool. It kind of folds up like that. And my wife jokes, she's like, I will sell anything that's not nailed down. She used to joke I would even sell her dog. Not true, by the way. My dog that passed away in January, I would not have sold him. But yeah, so this is selling for $80 tomorrow, and it's got some wear. But this person was just ecstatic. She made me an offer. I listed it for $120. I had no idea what I would get out of it. Yeah, this is gonna sell for $80. This is one of those books I picked up the other day. See how that doesn't lie flat? This was not stored in a bag or a board. And then there's some creases there. I'm gonna press this and then you'll see the difference. All right, now you can see after pressing it, that corner lies flat. And while these impressions are not completely gone, they are lessened than they were. The problem with moderns, meaning comics in the 90s and up, is there's a higher plastic content, so you can't really use the heat that you need to get some of these out like you can in the older books in the 80s and earlier. This is kind of a cool sale because I bought it from the warehouse. There's a television show, in Canada called the Liquidator Jeff. So if you Google the Liquidator Jeff, that's not me, by the way. That's a different Jeff who also resells things. He has his own TV show, and it's been going on for years. And my wife and I, we went to one of his warehouses a few weeks back. I paid 50 cents for this, and I just sold it for $29. And what's interesting is I've had a few people interested in this. They wanted to know if a certain child actor was in it. I looked through, they weren't, and then I never heard back from that person. And then I had sent an offer to somebody for like 24, never heard back from them, and then it just sold for full price right now. So I think part of not being attached to the price that you list it at is some things will sell for cheaper and some things will sell for full price. And it's that balance that I think we need to strive for.